Please welcome Jenni Lee, who will introduce our featured guests.
Thank you, everybody. Oh, okay. Let me turn this down a little bit so I don't need this one. Thank you for that accurate portrayal. Okay, this is going to roll. I'm going to put this over here. Good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing? Yes? Okay, so real quick, I'm going to take a selfie with everybody. So smile, please. I know, I'm such a TV person. Ready? Cheese. No, come on. Red cheese. Okay, that's better. Okay, so I'm very excited to be here today representing KVUE News here in the great Austin, Texas. So also very excited that Jackie Mayo asked me to be part of Small Business Week because small businesses are the backbone of Austin, Texas, this growing city, right? By 2040, I think the projected population is supposed to double, right? From couple million to 100 million. No, I'm just kidding. No, but it feels like that because we have traffic, we have housing issues. So that's why KVUE several months ago embarked on an initiative called Boomtown because we want to highlight all the issues that are affecting all of us. As Bobby Jenkins, started his business 35 years ago, you could not have predicted how Austin was going to grow tenfold, and it keeps growing and growing. But anyway, but very excited to be here because Bobby, I think, Jenkins, if you haven't met him personally, I know you've seen him on TV. This person I've seen on TV more than I've seen myself. Just today, I've seen him, I think 6 times, Bobby. Right? Yes, you have done well. And so when you think of pest control, lawn maintenance, irrigation, and I think now power washing, what comes to mind? It should be ABC, used to be pest and lawn, and now it's home and commercial services. Like that jingle is stuck in my brain. So well done. Like, I don't know who wrote that, but I love that jingle. So, right. So Bobby Jenkins, the owner and CEO of ABC Home and Commercial Services. So for 35 years, Bobby has led and spearheaded, grown, and expanded his company, just not only here in Austin, but statewide. 800 employees, right, so far. And he shares this business, started by his dad, his father in the 70s, and now he shares it with his 2 brothers. And it is a family business. I've had the honor to work with Chelsea. She has been so kind. Every time I call her, hey, Chelsea, can you please get me someone to interview? And hey, Chelsea, can you give me some bugs so I can show them? And can they be nice and big? And can you make sure they're dead? Thank you so much, Chelsea. And yes, can you do it in 10 minutes? So yes, she's a saint. So yes, and I have to read the rest of this because Bobby, of course, as you know, is a civic-minded person. So he's currently on the board of American Heart Association. He served as co-chair for the Heart Walk. And look, he has several pages, so I got to turn it. Bobby is currently on the Agricultural Development Council, Mays Business School Development Council at Texas A&M University, his alma mater. But I got to hook him, right? You're going to call me a tea sipper, right? So I'm a Longhorn, and when I first got my first job in Bryan College Station, I did my first public speaking engagement, and they all started to do this weird noise. Yes, no, but then they also started doing this sipping noise. I didn't know what that was, and so they were calling me a tea sipper, so they were making fun of me, but anyway, back to Bobby. He also serves as a trustee for the College of All Texans Foundation, the Better Business Bureau Education Foundation. He serves on the executive committee of the Texas Business Leadership Council, and he is also the chairman of the Professional Pest Management Alliance. I didn't know there was a Professional Pest Management Alliance. That sounds very impressive. So in 2017, Bobby was named Austinite of the Year by the Austin Chamber of Commerce for 3 decades of overseeing a successful small business. He's married to Jan, his wife of 35 years, which that alone, you should get an award. And you need to later on give me the secrets of a successful marriage. He has 3 children and 4 beautiful grandchildren. Please help me give him a warm welcome, Mr. Bobby Jenkins. Thank you. Yes, let's go sit down. So, list of questions for Bobby. Let's start at the beginning.
Sure.
You mentioned that your father started this company back in the 70s. Tell us about the journey. How did he start it? Why did he start a pest control?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it is how how people get started in a business. You really never know. I'll go ahead and clear up the Aggie thing so that you guys know from whence I come. My dad was class of '59. I'm class of '81. Brother '83. Other brother '85. All three boys, married women who graduated from A&M. So that's pretty cool. And then between the three brothers, we have 8 kids. All 8 graduated from A&M.
Wow.
So Dad graduates from A&M and goes into the military, as all Aggies at that time did. And then he had a business degree, so he was an entrepreneur. And I tell this story today at our orientations when I talk about why ABC is a good place to build a career and have a lifetime opportunity. He looked around and he found this little pest control company that had 1 employee and 1 truck. And he said, pest control? I mean, what in the world? And he kind of researched it a little bit and he said, well, you know what? There's always going to be pests. And there's always going to be people who don't want to live with pests. So that's why he went into it. And he started off from a business background. He built the business. Interestingly, what happened, just to kind of close the loop on the way the business is structured, because I think this is kind of unique as far as a family business, and we always position ABC as a family business. Dad built the business in San Antonio. We'd opened in Austin. We had a couple of little franchises around the state. And then he actually sold the business in about 1987. I was already here in Austin. I had moved here in '83, and we had a little business of about 6, 7 employees. And we didn't sell the Austin. We didn't sell Houston, where we had just opened up, and we reserved Dallas. So he sells, he retires, and then he helps the boys start their businesses. So the 3 brothers, we've got literally have the state carved up into 3 zones. We've got North Texas, East Texas, Central and South Texas, where I'm located. And this is really one of the coolest things when we talk about how do you have a multi-generational family business that's so unique. So Dad retires, the boys are all in business together, but not in business together. And I say that because it's a very important point. My brothers and I are probably as close, and I mean this, probably as close as 3 brothers that you'll ever meet. I mean, we do everything together. And from a business standpoint, we share information, we compete, we do stuff together, we serve our industry, we do a lot of things, same things in our communities, but we don't share ownership and we don't share money, okay? And those 2 things are what allows us to have this amazing harmony. Like I said, the state is divided up. We literally have lines. Our mom lives on the family ranch out in Marble Falls. And we have this understanding between the 3 boys, thou shalt not cross thy brother's line, or you're going to be dealing with mom, and it's just going to be ugly, right? So we have this wonderful agreement. We don't go into each other's area. We share information. We build our own businesses and do our own thing. And it's really been one of the coolest ways for a business to go to the next generation. My challenge will be, how do I do that with my children to go to the next generation? Because I have a stated objective and goal. I'm never going to sell my business, right? I want my business, this business, to be multi-generational. I've got grandchildren that you talked about. I hope someday that they work in the business. I mean, that is what I aspire to. So the idea of selling the business and for money and that kind of stuff just really has no attraction to me. There's the other pieces of the why that are so much more important. But that's kind of how we're structured. It's unique, but it works really, really, really well for ABC and the Jenkins family.
So that's the secret. Work with your family, but don't work with your family.
I'm telling Jenny that. And I say that jokingly, but I say it very seriously. We do. My brothers and I, we get together. We have what we'll call a summit, and we'll share best practices. We'll share ideas. You've seen here in Austin, and we'll talk about this, how ABC has evolved into all these different services. Well, in Houston and Dallas, those areas, they don't do all of those services, but they do some variation of that. And so we'll go into something and we'll share, how's that going? What's that business look like? So it's really an advantage, and yet there's no negatives to it at all, because that harmony, those 8 cousins that I talked about, it's amazing how close they are. and how well they get along. And of course, the fact that they're all Aggies is a good thing too. They get along even better because of all that.
Do they also share the ABC name?
Yes,
Okay.
everything. We share them. The one thing we share, interestingly, if you go to our website, abchomeandcommercial.com, what you'll have that landing page, and then up at the top, it's choose a city. So if you hit Houston, you'll go to the Houston site, and you'll see my brother Raleigh as the CEO there, and you'll see the list of services they do. If you go to Austin, San Antonio, Bryan College Station, Corpus Christi, or Bell County, those are the offices that are mine. And you'll see the things that we do in each of those. So same thing if you go to Dallas, you'll see Dennis. And if you watch TV in Houston or Dallas, you're going to have to see my brothers on the TV, kind of haunting you like I do here locally.
Oh, so Bobby's not in Houston?
Yeah,
or
I
Dallas.
will tell you, there have been times that I've said, you know, you guys ought to have me do your ads. They don't find that to be humorous, and they haven't taken me up on that yet.
But do they share the jingle?
They do. We do share the jingle. The jingle, to your point, has been one of the best marketing things we've ever done. And interestingly, this is how, good or bad, I love, the Aggie in me. I love tradition, and I love, and so that jingle has been a core part of our business. The gentleman who wrote that jingle back in 1972, I remember him today, Melvin Quinning. Melvin was one of our service specialists. He was a pest specialist. And he was a character. If you're from San Antonio, you might remember the old San Francisco Steakhouse, where they had the lady with the swing and the piano player. Well, Melvin, on the weekends, was a piano player at the old San Francisco Steakhouse, and he wrote the jingle for us. And so it's been iconic and a part of the ABC fabric ever since then.
I have to tell you, I was a little upset when y'all changed the wording from Pest and Lawn to Home and Commercial Services.
I know.
Because I couldn't say it as fast.
It's
and
a
I
little...
had to fit all those syllables in. So I was mad for several months.
Well,
but now I can say it.
Now you've got it.
And
a little
forgive
practice.
you. Yes. And so when your father retired, Bobby, what made you go into the business? Was there a little pressure from him? How did you decide?
No, not at all. And so going into the business, it was how I was raised. And I tell this to people all the time. One of the coolest things that my family did, and I think this is I'll share this with you. I grew up in a family where every night, and my dad worked real hard because he bought that one truck and built this wonderful business. But we always had dinner together. Every night we sat around the dinner table. And at that dinner table, we shared what was going on in our lives, right? How was school? What's this? What do you got there? How's the baseball team? And Dad participated in that, and he shared about the business. So I learned at an early age, I kind of was always part of the business. And I literally, I had a radio flyer wagon, and I pulled my compressed air sprayer around, right? Not quite that bad, but I worked in the business from junior high on. And always different roles, different things, cleaning the warehouse, being the guy underneath the house for termite jobs where we have to pull out debris, all kinds of things. And so I've tried to replicate that thought. And I do that today with my family. Not so much today because they're grown, but before that, that dinner time is a special time. And so I've always grown up wanting to be in the business. And I think that's kind of what happened to my brothers. We knew it was a great way to have a great career, but more than that, it was the connection and the love of ABC and the people. And then I will tell you, I learned, people ask, well, I learned from the best. My dad was my role model and my mentor, and I was unbelievably blessed to have someone like that to look up to and to learn from. And I saw what he did with the business. I saw the values that he had for the company and for the people who were part of the ABC family and the community. And so I learned from that. And with like what I hope my kids will do, take the business to the next level and continue to grow it and do good things in the community with the business.
And talk about that. Your company's been through some transformation. Talk about that transformation.
Yeah, so the transformation was when Dad had the business was ABC Pest Control. So that jingle goes even before that. They sing it was ABC Pest Control, and then it was Pest and Lawn, and now Home and Commercial. So we've had 3 significant iterations of the business where that first change was when we went from ABC Pest Control to Pest and Lawn Services. And I'll just share with you how that happens, because I think this is an interesting part of business and what all of us as business owners, entrepreneurs, regardless of size, and you'd always be thinking about how do I listen? How does my business evolve? So we'd been in pest control forever, and a wonderful pest control business, but I will tell you, I got a little concerned. My business has never been this rocket ship. I've been here for 36 years, and what we have had over the years is about every year, on average, a 15% rate of growth, right? And that's my target. That's my sweet spot, and that's intentional. I want ABC to grow at about 15% a year. I can digest that. I can manage that. Well, about 20 years ago, I got a little concerned. Are we going to be able to continue? And I didn't know. I didn't know that Austin was going to be what it is today. It was a great town to be in, and it was growing nicely. I didn't know it was going to explode like what it has done. So I was a little concerned. Are we going to be able to continue to grow at that 15%? And I wasn't sure that we would. There are some metrics and some numbers you can do, that amount of revenue based on population, and we did those measurements. Excuse me, we decided that, I don't know that we can do it. So our first diversification, we said we'll go into lawn. And our vision of lawn was lawn care, fertilization, insect disease, weed control, keeping the lawn turf. And it was a similar model to what pest control is. And what happened was we changed the name to Pest and Lawn, and then people started calling, "Oh, you're in the lawn business. Come mow my yard." I said, No, we don't do that. Come mow my yard. Come mow my yard. Come mow my yard. And that's my point. We listened, and then finally you said, okay, we're going to have to figure that out, and we got into the lawn business. And then once you're in the lawn business, well, guess what? We break sprinkler heads. Well, I guess we got to get in the sprinkler business. And then can you plant this kind of shrub for me? And so boom, you're in the landscaping business. And so that's how we went into that big lawn menu. And our lawn menu today, there's virtually nothing that we don't do in the green space for our residential and commercial. And then again, the next iteration occurred about 10 years ago. And this is what happens. So sometimes you have a vision, I need to diversify. Great. Other times you listen to your customer. I need to add something. Other times somebody shows up on your doorstep. So we're now in the mechanical space. So HVAC, heating and air conditioning, plumbing, electrical, all of those kinds of things. We've got a very robust division on that. Guy shows up on my doorstep. He wants to move from Boston back to home, which was Austin, and he wanted to have a handyman business. And so he was asking me just about business, kind of like a group like us, just talking business in Austin. And he starts talking about this handyman business. And I'm going, handyman? We break stuff all the time at ABC. We step through attics, we break stuff. And I said, Scott, we met a couple of times. I said, man, this guy's a really smart guy. And he's a good guy. And I said, Scott, maybe instead of you going and buying a franchise, maybe we can work together and leverage the customer base at ABC and build a handyman business from that. So that's how we got into handyman, so that's someone appears saying, I want to do something, and you seize that opportunity. Sometimes regulations do it. When we got in the handyman business at that time, a handyman could fix a leaky faucet. A handyman could hang a ceiling fan. The state of Texas changed the requirements and the rules and regulations, and obviously ABC is very visible. So to fix that faucet, I got to have a master plumber on staff. Well, if I got to have a master plumber on staff, I better drive some revenues to keep that plumber busy. And same thing with electrical, and same thing, we couldn't fix duct work for air conditioners. So that's how we went into that. So all of these kind of things, I share that with you just that as business owners and entrepreneurs, you've just got to always be open to new opportunities and new ideas. And sometimes it's a grand plan. Other times you just kind of listen to your customers and go where you think your customers want you to be. And then other times something just falls in your lap. And then how do you seize that opportunity and do something with it that's of value?
Where was your first expansion outside of Austin?
So interestingly, Dad sold that San Antonio business back in the mid-'80s, like I talked about. And he had a non-compete. Unfortunately, my dad died just a couple of years after that. He died about 21 years ago now. And so I never had a non-compete. So after we had gotten Austin up and going, I said, I love San Antonio too. And so we went back into San Antonio. I bought a very small pest control company there. I couldn't call it ABC for many, many years. The company that bought ABC back then eventually became Terminix, a national brand. And Terminix, I'll give them a lot of credit. What they did after they'd had it so many years, they lost the ABC name. They didn't want to use it, but they kept it. So I couldn't go back in as ABC. But then we struck an arrangement, and I was able to then change the name of the company that we bought, which was called Custom Pest and Lawn Services. I bought the ABC name back, boom, we changed the signs on the building literally the next day. And so we're ABC back in San Antonio, and that was probably 10, 12 years ago. And then we expanded into, of course, you know this, the center of the universe, Bryan College Station. So we have a wonderful operation there. And then a couple of years ago, we moved into Corpus Christi. And Corpus Christi, again, the way we did that, and this is the other way that I've grown my business. 95% of ABC growth over the years has been organic. But here in the last several years, we have made some very strategic acquisitions. And that's a whole nother world as far as how do we strategically go into a market. And so about 4 or 5 years ago, we bought a pest control company down in Corpus Christi. And then we got that going. And then we bought an air conditioning company there about 2 years ago. So my goal, I said how my brothers, we don't have the same menu, but even in my 5 offices, there is some variation of the menu. So my goal over the next 2 to 3 years, and it's a stated goal with the team, is to build out that menu and do all the services that we do in Austin in all of our markets. And I will tell you, I was talking to Mike Rollins a few minutes ago, what we've done is not for the faint of heart. It's been hard. It's been expensive. It's been a learning process. I think that the model is interesting. I think that the concept of being able to do multiple things, what I know is there's no better customer than a current customer, okay? So the idea of what can I do to add value to the relationship that I have with that customer already, that's the holy grail for us. And so that's where we've tried to think about what would be a value to deepen that relationship. And the holy grail for us is that each customer does 5, 6, 7, 8 different things with us. So that's how we build it. So that's what we're trying to do in each of those markets. I will tell you, I've searched. I have yet to find another service organization that provides the breadth of services that we do here in Austin. And so it's exciting, it's fun. I will tell you that's the big part of it. I love what I'm doing. I love this challenge of building the business and doing it the right way. Like I said, it's not been easy, but it's fun, and that's the most important part.
It's got to be a little bit scary too.
Yeah, it is. There are times that I go, I will tell you what's scariest for my management team. I've got an incredible team at ABC that are senior managers. I mean
your bugs.
Huh?
The bugs that you encounter.
Yeah.
I've seen your bugs.
They're everywhere.
They're huge.
We do have those too. Those are great conversation starters. But that senior management team, and I'll brag on this because I think this is one of the coolest things. I think this kind of speaks some important parts about ABC. There's 11 people on that team. The average tenure with ABC of those 11 people is 24 years. So my point on that is we've grown up together. And we've all built the business together. And that's just an unbelievable blessing to have that kind of continuity, that kind of trust with that team. It is something that is the most cherished piece of the entire business, is that we've got those kinds of long-term relationships. But I will tell you, every now and then we're sitting around that table for our weekly meeting, and I say, hey, I got an idea. And you could tell the fear, just like they're scared. Yeah, they're the ones who get scared. So that's always fun. But we're always thinking is the point. You've got to always be thinking about what else can we do that can add. And again, that's the guiding light is what can we do that adds value to the relationship that we have with our customer. And if it's something that our customers say that they need or they want, we have to really look at it and hopefully be the provider of that.
Clearly, you've been listening to the customer. So at what point do you capitalize on the growth of your business, Bobby?
So, I'm not sure exactly what capitalize means from the standpoint of, I said, I'm never going to sell this business. So there is no windfall of revenue that comes to me or to my family. That's just not it. I will tell you, I'll tell you, my wife asked me that question. When are we going to capitalize in this business? Because we put everything back into it. I mean, I've got a wonderful life and a wonderful living, but I'm investing in that business, and I'm investing for multiple generations. So the capitalization for me is that those grandkids that we talked about, that they someday are involved in the business. I can't think of anything that would be more meaningful to me than that. I capitalize on the business by watching my team grow. I mean, I derive so many value propositions personally and professionally out of the business. Developing and working with great people is special. My son is now running our Bryan College Station office. You talked about Chelsea. Thank you for the kind words. My middle daughter, she's in our marketing. She does our public relations for us. There's nothing more rewarding than working with family. And then those senior managers that I talked about, their kids are working in the business. And oh my gosh, that's how I capitalize on it. That's the way I value, or how I would say that we capitalize on it, is that kind of long-term sustainability of the business, and then those relationships, those families, the ABC family, continuing to be the ones that grow the folks that work there.
So what programs do you have for employees that are making them stay with ABC so long?
Yeah, so that's a big piece of what we think about every day right now. Some of the things that we do at ABC that not all businesses can do, but I've made this a priority from day one. I want to make sure that we have a benefit package that attracts and keeps good people. So like a lot of businesses, we've got a health insurance. We've got a 401k that's very aggressive, and we really try to make that something important. And so all of those things. But the other thing that we do that I do think is a little bit unique, I practice what we call ownership thinking. And what I mean by ownership thinking, everybody at ABC is involved in profit sharing of the business. And I run a very, very transparent business. Every month, I broadcast it to the branches, and we do it in all of the staff, and we show the profit and loss statement. So not just that we grew and business is good, but here's the expenses and here's the profitability. Here's everything about the business that I think an owner would want to know. The key metrics, our net promoter score, our turnover rate, profitability, like I said, all of those key things. We share it, they get it, they know it, because at the end of the year, their profit sharing bonus is predicated upon principally the profitability of the company. So at any time during the year, I show them what our profit number is. They know, are we having a good year or a bad year? And I will tell you, it's been tough the last couple of years. We keep investing, right, to go into these different services. We're plowing it back in. And but they know that and they see that. But that's the piece that I think that makes it so that I hope that I'm still that old school. I talked about A&M and I talked tradition. I still believe that ABC is that place where you can come in, sink in roots, and grow with the business. But that's the other challenge. We all have heard all these things about millennials and how different they are. Well, I will tell you, I'm a giant fan of millennials. I'm a giant fan of millennials because they're freaking brilliant, right? They're different, they work different, but they work really, really hard and they're brilliant. So how do I have an organization that at least a millennial says, yeah, I can be there? Because I don't want a young person or anyone to say, well, I need to go work somewhere else. I need to climb the ladder and go like this and go elsewhere. I have this drive. I've got to grow the business. I've always believed that adage, you're either growing or you're dying, right? So I feel this internal, almost pressure, but I feel like I have this responsibility to the people at ABC to grow the business so that they can come in and instead of going somewhere else, they can grow right here with ABC.
So you figured out millennials. Bobby Jenkins
I have not figured
out millennials.
I know that part for ABC I think is attractive, that they can move different positions. We've had guys, females, males, start in one division and say, well, now I want to go into that division, and I want to go into that, I want to go into sales, I want to go, great.
So you made it easy for the mobility within your companies.
Absolutely. And these are all different. So that's one of the things we work on real hard. The other thing we try to do is that feeling of, that connected to the business and that feeling of opportunity to grow with it. And, if we demonstrate, and that's why I'm so transparent about it. I mean, I want them to know this is the plan and get their input. Every year we do a meeting. It's our ownership retreat. And so we bring in all the employees, all 850 now, and we do it in multiple dinners, and we break up into groups, and we talk about how can we provide a better service for our customers, and how can we make ABC a better place to work at. Those are the two main things that we talk about and we work on. We break up into groups, we share those, we collect all those ideas, and we then have committees that work on those. So my point is, the idea is to get as many involved as is possible so they feel that, wow, I'm tied to profitability of the business, I can have a career here, and wow, what I say is part of what the company's trying to do.
And you listen to everyone.
We definitely listen to that.
You've also mentioned leveraging partnerships.
Mhm.
How does that work?
Yeah, Austin first of all, we are all unbelievably blessed to be doing business in Austin and Central Texas. I mean, I can't think of another place that I'd rather raise a family and build a business than right here. And I think what's unique about this, the other thing I'll say about Austin, I mean, I moved here in 1983 from San Antonio. I've always thought that Austin has one of the most welcoming business climates of any place. I've always thought Austin was about, not who you are, but what are you going to do, right? How do you want to contribute? How do you want to give back? How do you want to get involved? Be it the business community or the nonprofit community, the philanthropic side. People are welcoming to that. And so I say that because you meet people are welcoming, people want to help each other. It is a place where relationships, people like to do business with people they feel that they know. And I think this is a kind of market and community where that matters, right? And it's not all giant corporate. You said it, a small business drives the engine in this community. And I think it's just a market that's always supportive. So those relationships, how can I help you? You help me. How do we build a great business climate? I think all of the different things that the city's supportive of that, they recognize it. Obviously, the Austin Chamber of Commerce has been a big part of my business. It's always been something, those relationships made in that area, the business community, and then the nonprofit world, I think is another piece where people are very welcoming, and those relationships really, that's how I've leveraged them. I think it's a good thing, where people share information. And I think that sharing is something that's really valuable for everybody.
You've been recognized by several organizations as a good leader. So tell us in your own words, what makes a good leader?
Yeah, I think a good leader has to have passion for what they do. They have to believe in what they do. They have to work hard. They have to lead by example. I think that the honesty and integrity component of leadership is core and fundamental. I hope that the folks at ABC know that they can trust me, that we're going to deal with everybody fairly, that adage, we're going to be here tomorrow to back up what we do and say today. We're part of the community. I think that part matters, but I think a leader also listens, and that's that part when I talk about the ownership thinking piece, getting everybody's input. That management team that I talked about, I love the way we work together because we listen together, we debate together, we're passionate about it, but we can argue together. But at the end of the day, we work, and come up with what I think is generally a solution that's better than if any one of us had come up with that idea. And so I think that leadership is about that. How do we bring people together to work on an issue, a problem, an opportunity, a challenge, and how do we collectively come together with a solution that's in the best interest for all?
How does someone become Austinite of the Year?
I don't know. Well, there's Mike over there. That was a wonderful, wonderful surprise. I think at the end of the day, Jenny, I've been around a while now and worked hard. But the chamber, that was special. That was really, really special, and one that I'll always treasure. I think that being involved is good. I've always said, and I'll say this, Danny, I don't care what size your business is. Giving back is good business. And I've always had this philosophy that when a business is giving back to the community, there's three big sections that win. So supporting a nonprofit, well, obviously, if it's with your time, talent, or treasure, that nonprofit's going to benefit from what you give. I also think, and we talked about millennials a minute ago, the other piece that I think is very important to young people, and to all people for that matter, is working at a business that they feel proud of and that they feel inspired by, that business gives back and is involved in the community. I think people want to work for organizations like that. I think that's where they feel completely part of that organization. And then the third, yeah, I think the business wins. I think the business benefits when the community, I hope our customers say, you know, all things being equal, I want to do business with ABC because they do give back to the community. They do care about the community. And I think that's a good thing. And I also think that it's a good thing for businesses to celebrate that and share that. I'm one who is inspired by others. What I know is I got no interest in inventing the wheel, but I want to learn from others and make my wheel the best that it can possibly be. So when we hear business leaders share their stories, I get inspired. I get inspired by the Austin Gives that the Chamber has, where we recognize businesses' philanthropy and giving back to the community. My gosh, the things that businesses are doing are incredible. When Recognize Good recognizes individuals, when KVUE does the 5 Who Care, and you hear those stories about what people are doing to make the community better, man, I'm inspired by that. And I think it's important that we tell those stories, that we share those stories, and that we have a community and a business community that puts a priority on that kind of thing. It's not about the dollar. It's not about just growing. It's about doing it the right way. It's about all of us working together to continue to make this community particularly better and better and better every year.
I'm going to echo that. When we recognize good people doing good things, it makes me feel fuzzy inside. I'm getting goosebumps. So yes, absolutely. And so can you mentioned one, I think giving to the many nonprofits in our community is one piece of good advice. Can you give 2 more to small businesses here? Some advice on what to do and how to grow a small business?
You know, growing a small business is just not easy. It's perseverance. I think that's one of the things that I think about when you're growing a business. It's going to be hard, but you've got to persevere. You've got to have passion for it. I think the other piece of that, and I talked about it a little bit when I talked about dinner with the kids, that balance in life matters. I'm in it for the long haul, right? I'm not trying to make this thing an exit and go. I am about that 15% growth that we talked about. I am about ongoing, sustainable growth over time. So if that's where my head is, I also want to make sure that I've got balance in my life. I want to make sure that balance between home and that balance between work and community is there. And I think when you have that balance, it sets you up to be able to do a longer term play as far as your business. And I think all business owners need to think about those things. Find those other things besides just the business. And family. I will tell you, nothing matters more than my family. That faith, family, community, right? How all of that plays together is important. And so having that balance between those things, I think, allows us to have the inner strength to continue to persevere, because we're going to get our feet knocked out from us. Lord knows I've made a ton of mistakes. We go into that business and that just wasn't good. Or you make that hire and what was I thinking when I did that? All kinds of things that we all have those failures in business, but know that we're going to get up the next day and we're going to go back at it again and we're going to hit it just as hard. That's kind of because I'm in it for the long haul. And when you've got that long play mentality to it, you know that those are going to come and go. So celebrate the successes and learn from the failures is I think what the thought would be as far as learning from that.
I think that's across all industries, right? That
Absolutely.
Work-life balance. Who's figured that one out? Please email me on that one. Okay, so this one I think is very touching. Please tell us about the Pratt Foundation.
Thank you, Jenny, for asking about that. One of the other things that I'm intimately involved in is an organization called Sudden Unexplained Death in Childhood. Sudden Unexplained Death in Childhood, SUDC. My first grandchild, Moss Pratt, passed away 5 years ago now. We just had the his angelversary in the last 2 weeks. He passed away from sudden unexplained death in childhood. And what that means is Moss was 15 months old, and Jessica and Jay, his mom and dad, my daughter, were moving back from Houston to Austin. They were heading up to Dallas for a wedding, so they were living with us while they were remodeling their home. Before they got on the plane, Moss had been laid down for his nap, and before they got on the plane, Jess went to go check on him, and he was face down and was essentially gone. So perfectly healthy, laid down for a nap, and passed away. So sudden, unexplained death in childhood. We don't know what happened to Moss. We don't know. So Jessica and Jay and Jan and I and Jay's parents, we formed the Moss-Pratt Foundation. And so our objective is to, we fund research at NYU Langone in New York. And like I said, I went on the board of SUDC to find out answers. 400 children a year die this way. And it's a way that's gut-wrenching, because not only to lose a child at that age, a toddler is generally what these are, but to have no answers is it's indescribable. There's no way that I can properly explain it. So what we've tried to do is to do something positive. We've formed the Moss-Pratt Foundation. Like I said, we've also, ABC now puts on the Kite Festival. And at the Kite Festival, we have Moss Fest. So Moss Fest is a children's concert in honor of Moss. And so we have Sarah Hickman, who's an iconic person here, is in charge of Moss Fest. And we had it just a couple of weeks ago at the Kite Festival and had a wonderful experience. But that's our passion, to do it. Year before last, I got back from a cross-country bike ride where I rode with my two brothers. We rode our bicycles from Seattle, Washington to New York City. So 3,500-mile journey. And what we were doing, we were raising money for the Moss-Pratt Foundation. My brother Raleigh was also raising money for a child's hope, which is an orphanage that we started in Haiti that he spearheads. But I told people, I said, if I've ever passed you in the hallway, I'm going to ask you for money. And my brothers and I raised $560,000 for those causes. So thank you. So it'll be a lifetime endeavor for me. That'll be one of the things that we support a lot of things, but my heart, my passion are to someday find answers as to what is the unexplained part of sudden death, unexplained death in childhood. And so that's what we're working on. So we'll keep at it, and someday we'll find something.
We're very sorry for your loss.
Thank you, Jenni.
Right?
I appreciate that.
Yes, that's a very sad story. That just touches me.
It's tough. Thank you.
And so we have one final question. So obviously, family is very important to you. What have the three of you made a partnership with?
So the three brothers. So, our partnership, what's cool, it's amazing to me that three boys that sat around that dinner table that we talked about, all three of us have gone into the business, essentially, our own and yet together. My brothers and I, each one of them have their kids working in the business today. The brother in Houston, I think this is a little crazy. So he's got 3 kids and now has 2 son-in-laws and a daughter-in-law. All 6 of them are working in his business now. So that's going to be interesting.
And they all get along.
And they get along. And they get along with my kids who are working in the business. And the brother in Dallas, his son is working in the business. So, I think all of us are committed to each other, to growing each of our business and supporting each other. I want to support my nieces and nephews. My brothers, I know, want to support my children and my son and daughter-in-laws in the business. I think it's going to be fun to watch. I think it's unique, but I think it's something that's special. And I don't think we'll ever bring the businesses together into one. I think it's so hard to navigate multi-generations. And so I think we've done as well as a family can do, going from generation 1 to generation 2. How do we get to generation 3? That's what we're working on now. And then subsequent generations after that. That'll be the challenge, but I think all of us will learn from each other. We'll continue to share ideas. We get together, like I said, literally, we get together all the time and do share, things that we're doing and best practices and how can we each help each other and support each other. That's the end game that I hope we have. I hope that Raleigh's business in Houston and Dennis's business in Dallas continue to grow and to prosper, and that as many of his children and grandchildren as they want work in the business, that'd be the holy grail for each of us. I'm absolutely certain of.
We hope your business continues to thrive here in Austin. It's been such a pleasure talking to you and listening to you. It's been inspiring, right? Can we give him a hand, please?
Thank you. Thanks. Appreciate it.
And I think, Jackie, we're going to open it up for Q&A. Is that right? Are we opening up for Q&A? Is that in a little bit or right now? Now? Yeah. Do any of y'all have any questions for our esteemed? And do we hand off the mic so we can hear the questions? Oh, here it is.
Manage and maintain and retain the culture of all these family, different kind of next generation, the different kind of a team. How do you bring all together into same culture and maintaining that to give us some inputs?
You know, that's a great question. There is no magic answer. I will tell you, I am intentional and passionate about it, right? That idea of sharing and being so open, I think, is a big piece of it. I was saying earlier, I don't think I mentioned it in our conversation. If you got 10 ABC folks together, 4 of them have family working at ABC. So 40% of the folks that work at ABC have a family member who works at ABC. So it's not me just saying that I want my family to work in it. I want everybody's family members. If they want to be part of ABC, we welcome them with open arms. And I know that there's, you can make a case, well, that's not smart, Bobby. Well, for me, it's worked out great. So every now and then it causes a little bit of an issue. It can have its, little moments. But by and large, I can't think of anything better. So that welcoming feeling, that sharing of information, I think and being intentional. We talk about it. We put those things up there. We celebrate when someone's family. We do a thing at ABC before we start every meeting. The first 3 to 5 minutes, tell me something good, right? And hands go up. We talk about child graduated from high school or had a new grandson or something, whatever it is. Tell me something good. So we're sharing that information. And that's by design. That's part of, making sure that culture of we sharing and knowing each other is part of it. I will tell you, it's harder as my business has grown with 850 folks. It's hard, but you've got to be intentional. Every Tuesday morning, the vice president and I have breakfast tacos with about 10 to 12 folks at ABC. And all we do is sit down at that conference table that I talked about, and we just share a little bit about ourselves. Tell us about it, and share with family and kids and this and that. Go around. The idea is to work on that culture of sharing and knowing each other. But my only advice is you've got to be intentional. It won't just happen. You've got to work at it. Certain things we do work well, other things, didn't work so well. But those are a couple of things that we intentionally try to do to maintain that culture. Family.
You know what, Bobby, I wanted to ask you, was there a mistake you made early on that you regret? And can you share that with the crowd?
So, the mistakes that we've made, we've gone into some of those services and, when you do that, I'm not a plumber, right? I'm a pest control guy, right? So I had to go bring the talent on for some of these different services that we did. And, you think you've hired somebody who has those core values and has that alignment. And I've made some mistakes in some hiring of leadership people that just didn't fit with ABC. And those are the ones that have been difficult, because you really make that commitment, that investment to hire somebody at a level that you trust can help you run that business. We've made some mistakes on, timing might have at times bitten off a little more than we could chew. I've gotten a lot more disciplined. My philosophy is we're going to keep growing. We're going to keep expanding, but we're going to be very strategic about it. We're not going to just jump to here. We're going to go to here, to here, to here. And so it's mainly about folks, getting the right people.
Thank you. This is following your comment about millennials. Do you find that you have an evolving system of reaching new customers? I'm thinking specifically of families that don't use television anymore, and how you find your demographic.
Yeah, no, so that's a great question. And that is the moving target for all of us. Where are our customers? And as millennials are now moving into home ownership, how do I find them? You're right. Yeah, I love watching our TV ads on KVUE. That's a great thing.
We do too.
But we're finding other ways. And so we're investing a ton on digital. Years before, I was giant in the yellow pages. Well, obviously that's changed completely. And so SEO, SEM, digital, we're huge on reviews, right? So we're trying to be there on, Facebook and Google and Yelp. And, it's a double-edged sword. It's hard, right? I do think that all of those social platforms have done a great job of making my business better. We hold our people accountable. I'm a big believer in Net Promoter Score, right? Which is asking your customer that one question. That one question is on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you to recommend ABC to a friend or family member? And there's a lot of math that goes into it. So anyway, those platforms are huge for us. And so we're trying to make sure that we're there. But the game's changed completely. And I'm trying to figure it out. But I know it's changed. But we're investing about a third of our marketing spend on digital SEO and SEM.
This is going to be our last question.
I hear voices. Yes.
Okay, so I appreciate your time. Sure. And you were talking about how millennials, it's not that easy to understand us. And we've evolved and revolutionized how the business industry works.
Absolutely.
And so I would like to ask you, what have you noticed are the 3 to 5, maybe more if you have more, priorities you are focusing to ensure that this growth, development, and culture and balance is actually maintaining the sustainability so that everyone feels all this beautiful values and integrity you have in your company?
Yeah, again, I think it comes, and I hope I can answer this the best that I can. We can talk about it, but I think that the fact that we are so welcoming and that we have that open arm and that what's cool about ABC, and I love this. I mean, we've got everybody there, and at the end of the day, all I care about is that you care about our customers and that you do a great job. And so we that fairness piece that I mentioned is a big part of what goes on at ABC, and making sure that we have a work environment. And we've evolved. We work really, really hard at ABC, and I'll tell anybody that that's part of the deal when you come here. But that balance, I do put my money where my mouth is. We don't work stupid hours. I don't grind people. I want everybody at ABC. I want them to raise a family. I want them to coach the kids' softball team. I want them to be at the ballet recital. And so we're very flexible in those hours. And so we went to a PTO system. It's not about sick days and vacation days. It's PTO. And I think we've got a very generous piece on that. And it doesn't take a lot to get time off, because time off with family matters. And I think that when we do that, it's an investment. It's an investment in that relationship, because I am about long-term relationships, not just with our customers, but with the folks who work at ABC. So I do think that we do our best to walk the talk. And it's not easy. We all know we get busy and, oh my gosh, we've got to get this taken care of. But we really try to make sure that those hours that we work and the things that we ask people to do, this is that leadership part that I talked about. I wouldn't ask anyone to do anything that I wouldn't do, or work hours that I wouldn't work. And so I've always been a believer of that balance, like I talked about for myself. And I want everybody at ABC to have that balance in their family, their community, whatever it is that they're working on to give back. So that would be my best way to answer that.
Well, thank you, Bobby. This has been a conversation
Appreciate
with CEO Bobby Jenkins.
Thank you.
I like to thank Jenni Lee and Bobby Jenkins for being here today. Mr. Jenkins, you are an inspiration, and we just want to say thank you. And this is just a little token of appreciation.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I also would like to recognize some elected officials in the room. Commissioner Jeff Trevelyan. And Councilmember Jimmy Flanagan. Both are great supporters of small business. And one of our small business champion, I'd like to bring to the stage at this time, Mayor Steve Adler, who will bring us some remarks.
Listening to Bobby talk, I want to work for ABC. I think, it is oftentimes, he was talking about leadership, and I think that's really true. It's leadership and culture so incredibly important. I was with another really successful small business operator who was explaining to me that culture eats strategy for lunch, is what he said, and that if you set a really strong culture, that then pervades how it is that you do your product or do your service or how you treat and work with your family or the employees working with you, that always pays dividends. And you can see it so well with somebody like Bobby, who I think is probably the reigning Austinite of the year right now. And just this past weekend, I was at another event with interfaith organization that was also honoring him for bringing the community together. So the values that he talks about and the culture that he imbues in his business really are who he is. And you feel that, I think, when you interact with his company anywhere. And I think that really is a lesson for all the rest of us.